Alright guys, welcome to the HM Farm guide for 3rd of November 2018. This week is a more difficult week because Intelligence Systems decided to give us walls and pretty much force certain conditions to make the farming work this week. It isn't impossible though, it's just more tedious and requires more specific units compared to last week. So I didn't do a HM Farm video last week because it was quite accessible. There were many ways to do it, like pass and Gale Force Flyers. It was much easier last week, but since there's a little bit more of a requirement to this, I'm going to go over what I am using and some alternatives to it. Of course, as I always say, if you don't have these particular units, then it's always a good idea to jump into the Discord, and I have an HM farming help channel there, plus I have a questions channel. So if you're having some difficulty setting this up, or you're looking for friends that may provide these units, you can definitely find plenty of people who have these things. I'm going to use the most accessible units and most accessible fodder I can find to provide you with the solution, but keep in mind it's much more demanding than previous weeks have been, but there are alternatives to it, so keep in mind. So first thing to keep in mind with today's HM Farm guide is you actually need to do it on Infernal, not on Lunatic. You need to do it on Infernal, so very important. Infernal, guys. Please don't make me have to read in YouTube that you couldn't figure it out because you were clicking Lunatic. Okay, that's a big difference. Lunatic and Infernal do give the exact amount of HM, but make sure you click Infernal when you do this. So I'm going to show it just once real quickly. Just going to auto battle it, and then I'm going to go through the actual units themselves and what's required of them. Remember guys, Infernal. So it's all pretty much dependent. This strat totally depends on having a Cavalier. Okay, a Cavalier with Gale Force makes it into a 2-turn strat, and of course there's going to be other requirements for it, but essentially Roy gets hit by Bowie after getting danced by a dancer. Roy needs to make sure he doesn't have an assist, and any other units are carrying assists, so the dancer doesn't dance those units. Roy doesn't need to kill here, and it could be pretty much any other Cav. He just needs to quad Bowie to get the Gale Force, and then just kill Sarah with the Brave Weapon. The Brave Weapon is key to this, and then you have your other Wings of Mercy units that are required to do this. So my Roy in particular sets up a Wings of Mercy 2 with Fury recoil damage, and then there's 2 Wings of Mercy 2 range units and 1 Wings of Mercy 2 dancer. So that's pretty much your requirements, which means half the roster needs to be set up for this. But to go into the actual finesse of it, so again, just first slot doesn't really, the slots don't generally matter as long as they don't go into range. So Wings of Mercy 2 range unit, Wings of Mercy 2 range unit, that's what you see in the first 2 slots. In case you're wondering why that's 5k, it's because I'm pretty much done HM farming. I'm down to the bottom of my barracks, so I'm not getting too much HM anymore. There's your Dancer, Wings of Mercy 2. Make sure it's in the 3rd slot. That's important. Roy, and it doesn't have to be Roy, it's just the most accessible option. Just needs to make sure they reach 30 speed. 30 speed is enough to quad Bowie, and that's why I've chosen to use him. The Cavalier needs to be using a Brave Weapon. So this can actually be done with a Blue Lance Cav, a Green Axe Cav, and Red Axe Cav. Did I just say Red Axe Cav? Blue Lance Cav, Red Sword Cavalier, and Green Axe Cavalier. It can be done with every single melee Cavalier option, and they need to be using a Brave Weapon and achieve 30 speed. Now this is harder on some of the slower units, such as Freddy or Gunter. However, you can use a Heavy Blade for that, so they outspeed. They can get procs on Gale Force to activate on Bowie on the Seal slot. You can do that, but you got to make sure you have that condition met. The thing is, all these Cavaliers, whoever you choose to use, requires Gale Force, and as I said earlier, you need to make sure that you have somebody or yourself a unit that you can borrow. As I said, using your friends list is crucial for success, so make sure you make some friends. check out the Discord if that's the case. To make sure this is as fluid as possible, I highly recommend Fury 3 for chip damage. Taking 6 recoil damage is good. It doesn't have to be, depending on what Cavalier you use. It is required for someone like Roy, who takes minimal damage, and any other red Cavalier. Lunge is needed, absolutely needed. And my Roy is minus speed, my Brave Roy is minus speed, so that's why I have threatened speed here, but this is not a requirement. It just depends on what IVs your Roy has. So, recap, Gale Force required, Lunge required, and Brave Weapon required. All accessible, very easy to get. Gale Force is probably your most restrictive factor. You may not have a Gale Force Cavalier, and depending on who it is, might be harder to set up than Roy is. But Fury helps with that recoil damage to get into Wings of Mercy range. For example, if you had a minus res Brave Roy, you could actually be using Wings of Mercy 1 because Bowie would hit him for more damage. And if you had like a green Axe Cav with low res, you'd likely be reaching Wings of Mercy 1 range. So that's pretty much it, and these 4 units are your dummies. So again, it's a 2-turn clear Infernal, and yeah, you just need to use a Brave Weapon. The reason why it works, as you saw here, is your Gale Force is 5 charge. He goes into range of Bowie. Bowie's the only unit that can hit him here, and Bowie brings the unit's charged Gale Force to 4, and next turn, as long as your unit targets Bowie, which is the easiest with a red Cav, and hardest with a blue Cav, usually the green one would still attack Bowie though, because Bowie doesn't retaliate. So you lunge into Bowie, and then again, Sarah is the squishiest unit here. As long as your unit kills Sarah, lunge is in, Wings of Mercy train begins, and they take the fort. So it's not the most it's pretty annoying, but it's not impossible to set up with plenty of Cavaliers in the whole 3 and 4 star pool, with Gale Force probably being the most restrictive thing here. So I hope that worked out for you guys. Feel free to maybe leave some questions in the comments below and help each other out with this. Sometimes I can't read everything in the comments, but I try to help out the most obvious of questions. Again, take advantage of the Discord, jump into there, and offer what you can to help others, or ask for it as well, because people are always there. Thanks again for watching. If you like it, as always, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.